After the score at the McKendrick Museum, the gang celebrated by sitting on their asses for the December holidays. Well, not everyone. Hoxton was still trying to find the guy who ratted them out, and Bain was cooking up some connections, one of which being a Croatian arms dealer named the Butcher. Of course, a blossoming mutual friendship like this comes at a price. If we're going to do some work for her, we'll need some new muscle. And luckily, she has the man for the job. And who else but a corrupt Interpol agent? And his name is Dragan. Released January 22nd, 2015, the Dragan character pack is the second paid character pack in the game, and introduced the Croatian infiltrator Dragan. Alongside him, we get his signature assault rifle, signature melee weapon, the infiltrator perk deck, and his mask, both painted and unpainted. I'll be ranking this DLC out of 4 categories, out of 5, for a max of 20 points. Does our new Croatian comrade fit well into the gang? Well, let's find out if the Dragan character pack is still worth it. Not much is known about the past of Dragan Zubovic. He was a pit fighter in his youth and, before joining the gang, was an agent of Interpol. Of course, he wasn't a shining example of moral righteousness. He was heavily corrupt and was basically playing both sides of the law like a game of chess to line his own pockets. Of course, this all came to an end when he met the Butcher, killing his partner as an act of goodwill. In exchange, she brought him along to the US to join up with the Payday gang, as a sort of bargaining chip to Bain. In-game, Dragan comes off as the tough Slavic type. A little bit of humour in his lines, and of course some of his native tongue sprinkled through. If you're looking for a heister that's a lot more professional than some of the gang, but still has that edge, then Dragan's a perfect pick, even if some of his lines come off as amateurish. Which is a shame because his VA, Dragomir Mirsic, is incredibly enthusiastic when it comes to playing him, so much so they brought him back for a bigger role in Payday 3. I will say though, his pager responses are quite funny if you imagine him saying them with a completely straight face.
I thought I saw a burger, but it was just a burger. The spelling confused me.
I'd also like to say his mask is quite nice as well, representing Dragan's ability to blend in, as the mask itself is reminiscent of the Core 4's masks with that hint of Croatian flair. Dragan gets a 5. He's not my personal favourite, but the man's got enough of a personality that he's at least a nice addition amongst the primarily Western cast. In this very Croatian-themed DLC, you need a Croatian weapon. Introducing the Lion's Roar, based on the HS product VHS D2. The main service rifle of the Croatian military since 2013, this assault rifle was nothing to scoff at post-launch besides it being a really reliable rifle with bare-bones modability. But during the post-White House era, this thing gained a massive buff to its stats. I can't tell if it was a case of overcorrection like with the Lebenssauger from the Ninja pack, but this thing is a beast that can reach 100/100 stats with minimal effort. I guess the only real downside is lack of ammo mods, but you're not going to be scrounging around for ammo if you use this. And, oh, looky here, we actually have some gun facts. Equipping the Lion's Roar with the CQB barrel turns the VHS D2 into the VHS K2. And that's kind of it for actual facts. My next fact is actually just speculation. Payday 2 was the first major appearance of the VHS D2 in any media. True, the Internet Movie Firearm Database lists the D2 as appearing in Warface and Survivarium before. But, having done some research, Warface only got the D2 in 2018, and Survivarium added the VHS in August of 2015, 8 months after the Dragan character pack. Honestly, this kinda makes Payday 2 quite the trendsetter, as this once obscure Croatian rifle was now seen as a modernised replacement for the FAMAS. Of course, you can only go downhill from here, as its third appearance in games was in the form of an anime girl, because God is dead. The Lion's Roar gets a 5. A solid contender for your primary slot, even after 11 years. And whilst we're on the topic, Dragan's Cleaver. This isn't the best melee. Very low stats, but at least it has a very good range. I say it would be good with this pack's perk deck, but we'll get onto why that's actually a bad pick. It gets a 2. Infiltrator is a melee-focused health regen and damage reduction perk deck. It's not the best thing in the world, but we'll get onto that. The first card, Overdog, decreases the amount of damage you take from enemies by 12%, but also grants your melee attacks a damage multiplier, dealing 10 times its normal attack damage on consecutive hits with a 1 second window between attacks. This also works in conjunction with buffs that improve melee damage like Bloodthirst, Pumping Iron, and Berserker, meaning you could wipe out whole squads just as long as you don't miss and have a good melee. Cards 3, 5, and 7, Basic, Advanced, and Expert Close Combat, decrease enemy damage by a total 24% when within 18 meters of an enemy. Advanced Combat also increases the consecutive attack window of Overdog from 1 second to 7, which makes the buff usable in weapons with slow swing speeds, like the Fire Axe. And the final card, Life Drain, regens 20% of your health when hitting an enemy. This effect has a cooldown of 10 seconds, and can be used on jokers. Everything added up, you get 12% less damage from enemies at all ranges, 36% less damage from enemies within 18 meters, 20% health regen on enemy hit, and a 10 times melee damage multiplier of every consecutive hit. Infiltrator is a strange deck. Compared to Sociopath, it's trying to be a melee deck, but without the things that make that one good. The damage reduction is nice, 47% as a baseline is absolutely nothing to scoff at, but the healing having a 10-second cooldown is certainly an issue. It's made for a more defensive playstyle compared to Sociopath, where you hunker down, give enemies or jokers an occasional slap, and use your 10 times damage bonus to take care of a dozer or two. Just remember to bring a better melee weapon. The cleaver may be included, but it's not that good. Infiltrator gets a 5. As long as you play smart and choose your battles, it'll carry you through whatever you need. 5, 5, 2, and 5. Bringing us to 17, and placing Dragan in B tier. The Dragan character pack may have been a good pick for the Lion's Roar during release, but with buffs to the perk deck and a charming man to play as, it's certainly a good pick. This video is a sibling video to the one released for the Bomb Heists DLC, which will be linked in the description and in the top corner. Go watch it. You won't regret it. Next time, we'll see the modernization of a Cold War arms race, with the Butcher's AK/Car mod pack. And I hope to see you there. Take care, and have a good one.